Today we're going to go over the pros and cons of having a slide on your camper. And I'm going to restrict this a little bit to the smaller campers. When you have a large camper, it does have great advantages to have slide outs that come out all along your camper to just give you more room. So we're not going to evaluate the big boys. We're just going to pretty much evaluate the smaller campers. We're talking pretty much 25 foot or less. They put slides on a lot of these, and what happens with the slides is, as you can see on the side here, this particular model actually does have one version with the slide, but with the GeoPro, it only comes out maybe a foot, 2 foot at the most, versus your big brigs, they'll come out 3 to 4 to 5, 6 feet sometimes. But on these smaller rigs, they don't come out that much. So we're going to go over the pros and cons of these actually slides being on these smaller models. One of the cons is, if you have a slide out, which I don't on this particular model, but if you had a slide out and it slid out here, then you have an opening that goes all the way around this particular slide out, and that invites the possibility that you can have rodents that come in, and you can get in around the rubber seal that goes around this particular slide out. Like I say, you have to visualize it here because I don't have one, but that can introduce ways that insects and rodents can get in. They can still get into your regular camper the way you've got different doors and things, but it's really hard if you've got everything buttoned up really good. So any kind of mice problems that you might have, that definitely is something you got to worry about if you've got a slide out. It's pretty obvious that if you have a slide out, it's going to give you more space. So I'm in the FD model in the GeoPro, and in this particular model they make an FDS model, which actually is for the slide. And what they've done is they've moved the refrigerator over here, and they've moved a few things around, but basically what happens is this whole section slides out about 1.5 feet, 2 foot. And so that gives you a lot more room in here, and that way two people can pass. Sometimes it can be a pain to get 2 people to pass here, so it just gives you a whole lot more room and a little more space. And sometimes they'll take, in different slide outs, they'll take the dinette and they'll put it in the slide out. It just clears up more floor space, so that's definitely a pro. Now the next con is simply maintenance. If you have a slide out, you have to worry about the mechanism. There's a motor involved, there's a mechanism, and you'll see, I'll show you a picture here of a mechanism where that actually slides out, and that can get jammed up and get dirty, and it's just something you have to worry about it mechanically. And as if it's working right, it can pop a circuit breaker, and it can be a real issue sometimes. And a lot of people, including me, yours truly here, I don't want to have to deal with that just to have a little extra space. And this is something that I just was talking about. You have this slide out. If you're visualizing a slide out here coming out, you have this rubber seal that goes all the way around. And one of the cons is that allows you to have, it's kind of a loose rubber fitting sleeve that goes around here. So if you've got a WeBoost, kind of like I do out here in the back, and you want to run that cable through that gives you a place to run a cable or even an extension cord through that rubber seal area. And that kind of nice is you don't have to drill a hole to run a cable or something out through that. So that gives you an option to run through something like that. So that's definitely a pro in having a slide out. Okay, another con to a slide out setup is that you're introducing another area that water can get into your camper. You have that rubber seal that goes around, like I showed you before, where it slides out, and you have a roof that's relatively flat, but you have to worry about debris getting up there. You can get one of the little awnings that go over top of it to keep some of that debris out, but it's just something else that you got to worry about. As far as, you have to make sure that that's clear before you bring that slide in, or you can get caught up with something. Okay, on the next pro, if you have a slide out, and I'll show you here, in some of these slide outs you actually have an outdoor space When it slides out, you actually have a place that you can access it through the outside, so it gives you a little bit more storage on the outside. Of course, that sometimes is a negative because it actually, you lose a little bit of cabinet space that might be on the inside. So in this case, you do get, like I say, another access from the outside to the storage area, but you may lose some in your actual slide where it slides out. Okay, another con in having a slide out is something that people don't think about too much, but this goes down to maintenance again, is whatever slides out, if you're talking about a dinette, then you're not having too much of a problem. But if it's just kitchen section that slides out, there's a lot of things that you have to worry about when it moves from inside to outside, the inside to outside. And that, of course, it includes your electrical wiring. Your wirings can be pinched and it can break those wires and short out something. You also have gas lines involved, and just the sliding back and forth sometimes can cause those particular items to actually short out or not work anymore or get crimped. So if you're considering a slide, you may want to worry about maybe getting a slide that has the dinette on it and less electrical equipment. It still may have some lights, but it may be a little bit better. It's just a consideration. Okay, another pro to having a slide out, in some cases it may allow you to have a bigger bed. In these particular small setups like this, you're limited to the footage from side to side and how much footage can go down the highway. And in most cases, it's a standard bed, or maybe you'll go with the queen size, but in our case, we just have a standard size double bed. It folds down. But like I say, if you had a slide out in some of these models, it gives you an opportunity to have a bigger bed. So that is always a big thing, and I would always myself enjoy having a bigger bed, but I'm not sure the actual advantage of a bigger bed versus the other things I'd have to deal with outweighs it. It's just a personal choice. Another thing you might want to worry about is the weight. And if you have a truck where you're pulling something and you're not really worried about weight, then that's probably not an issue. But when you buy one of these smaller units, sometimes that's an issue. I'm pulling mine with a smaller truck that has a V6 and has a 5,000 pound limit, which sounds like it's good, but by the time you load this thing up, you're almost approaching 4,000 pounds. So if you add that weight of that slide, you're adding another 200 or 300 pounds to it. So that can mean the difference between you pulling it with that vehicle and maybe having to upgrade to a bigger vehicle. So that can be a big consideration. So just know that if you have a slide, the weight's going to be increased. Okay, in conclusion, you may see that I'm a little biased toward having no slide, and it's just because these are a smaller unit, and I just don't think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. And this is personal. If I had one of the slide outs, I would definitely enjoy the slide outs that I had. Main thing is to look at what your needs are, and if it outweighs having a slide out or not having a slide out. And that's about all I have for this RV short. Just like I say, let me know in the comments what you think about having a slide out in one of these smaller units.